what he does, but I know that there are a lot of people who are finding a lot of relief from his procedure through acupuncture. And please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Dr. Donald Liebell from Virginia Beach, who left at 4:30 this morning today.
We often hear the expression, you learn something new every day. But that's not necessarily true. What is more accurate is that every day you have the potential, you have the opportunity to learn something that you didn't know about, that maybe has been around a long time. And I'm going to talk about a few things along those lines today. I hope you've read this quote from Nobel Prize winner physicist Max Planck. So it's kind of cliche to quote Albert Einstein at this point, but I'm going to anyway. Because what we're talking about today is about advancement in science. And we're going to learn about some things, some of which are fairly new, some of which are not so new. And I'm going to ask folks, if we can wait till we're done to ask and answer questions.
Check your mic. Check your mic. Microphone.
Can't hear me? That's better. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Should I start over? No, all right. So what we have up here, we search the internet to find out what is said about what is available for alpha-gal. Essentially, what it says is nothing. Don't eat meat. Don't get bitten by ticks. But I think everybody here knows that it's so much bigger than that. With all the wonderful information that you've gotten today about how many possible things that this can show up in, how many possible ways, how many biochemical reactions might be taking place that other things are involved. So it's so much more than that. There are a lot of foods I don't like to eat, so I don't eat them. I was actually a vegan about 25 years ago. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal to not eat something that I didn't want to eat. But this is not what it's all about. Now, I've been working with tick-borne illness for quite some time, and as you see, I am dedicated to helping people that have been victimized by chronic effects of tick-borne, tick-triggered illness. And our medical system that really does not acknowledge it well enough, and has shown limited ability and accessibility towards helping. People are sick. And there are solutions to problems around this world for all kinds of things, not just things in medicine. There are safe, effective methods that are treated harshly, people that are treated harshly because what they do works too well. It isn't profitable. And that's got to stop. And terms like alternative medicine and quackery have to go away. Alternative to what? The real treatment, the real medicine? What we're talking about with alpha-gal, there is no treatment. So alternative does not apply. Now, we hear so much about healthcare and healthcare reform. But when they're talking about that, they're not talking about care, they're talking about insurance, not the treatment itself. It's the cart before the horse, as that cliche goes. And the tests are not everything. We're going to talk about that quite a bit. As far as the usefulness of blood tests, for a lot of people it's the thing that enabled them to find out that they have alpha-gal allergy. For other people, they have told the doctors that they have it. And in many cases, with some harsh treatment, people being told they're crazy. There's no such thing as a meat allergy, and worse. Now, it seems to me that throughout human history, we should be paying a lot more attention, no matter what a person's medical situation is, to bugs. And look at all these things. It's not new. Malaria to Lyme disease to so many other things. I think that there's more illness that is triggered by the effects of bugs than anything else. A person walks into a doctor's office with arthritis or chronic headache, gastrointestinal problems. Shouldn't bugs and what they transmit be considered first? I think so. So how did I become involved with alpha-gal? Well, my wife Sheila, who's over there, around 2005, determined that she had Lyme disease. And unfortunately, everything that she tried did not work. In fact, antibiotics made her worse. We tried a lot of so-called alternative treatments, some of which I wasn't too thrilled about her doing. And they all failed me. Then, I read about something fascinating. I bought this book, Solomon's Molecular Therapy Textbook. That's Dr. Nader Solomon, right there. You're going to learn a lot about Dr. Solomon. That book changed my life. Dr. Solomon and the work that he's done changed my life. It's enabled me to help people get better from things that no one will even believe anyone could get better from. So years later, Sheila got well because of Dr. Solomon's treatment. It's homeopathic treatment. See, he figured out what she needed using a very sophisticated but little-known evaluation method that involves the ear. Now, that may sound strange, but everything's strange until it's not. Anything that you've never heard of, you can say, well, that's weird, that's strange. I'm all right with that. People come to me sometimes, they'll refer to their regular doctor, and I say, does that make me your irregular doctor? Or it's my normal doctor, and I say, so does that make me your abnormal doctor? And you know what? I'll own that. Because what's my job? My job is to improve people's quality of life, help people get well. So what I'm told, that doesn't matter. I'll take your regular doctor. So who's Dr. Nader Solomon? As you can see, he served as president of the American Academy of Medical Acupuncture, which is a group of physician acupuncturists. And he has been practicing the work laid down by a true genius, a word that is bandied about rather recklessly these days. Dr. Paul Nogier, the father of auricular therapy, and I'm going to tell you all about auricular therapy today. So as you can see here, Dr. Solomon, board certified in both anesthesiology and medical acupuncture. Medical acupuncture is acupuncture done by a medical doctor. You can see his training, who he is, but what's important is what he's done. What he's done for people, what he's done to enable me to have the tools to do the things that I'm able to do to help people. And this is what science is all about. This is what progress is all about. So we're going to fast forward 10 years. So Sheila started showing me these news articles about how there's a sudden rise in red meat allergy. And I read the articles. I thought, there's no rise in meat allergy. It's been going on for a long, long time. I've treated people with it. Dr. Solomon's treated people with it. I didn't think there was anything special. One of the reasons is lots of folks that suffer the effects of tick-borne infection develop all kinds of allergies that they never had before. So, using Dr. Solomon's method, I treated people with meat allergy years ago. Didn't know about alpha-gal. Didn't know what it was. Once I started reading these articles, then I went to the medical journals, and I read every paper out there. But wow, this is really interesting, the chemical mechanism behind it, how the alpha-gal sugar gets into a person's bloodstream and triggers this allergy. Well, I also realized it didn't matter if we knew about it or not because of the method. We'll get to that. Now I'm going to show you a lot of background, a lot of science stuff, because, as I said before, people say they learn something new every day. I'm going to show you some stuff that's old. But doctors tell people, well, that's baloney. And I say, well, have you read the medical journals? Have you read the papers? You're giving an opinion on something that's not based on fact. So I read every one of those papers, and I knew it was my obligation to bring effective treatment to the public and to conduct research. I want to make it very, very clear. I'm not here making a claim for anything other than the effort to help this problem. And it's very simple. It's being done, but we need to prove it on a large scale. And I think everybody here knows that the consequences of alcohol allergy are far beyond just not being able to eat food. And you can see I listed several things here of all the deep, far-reaching consequences, people's family dynamics, a lot of fear and paranoia with every move you make. It's not a fun way to live. I call it being under alcohol house arrest. Because I've seen people that the limitation that this allergy has on their lives is extraordinary. I saw a young man about a month ago, about 21 years old, basically a shut-in, because his reactivity is so bad, his sensitivity is so bad, that he drives with his windows open past a restaurant or a house somewhere where meat is cooking, he ends up in emergency. That's not just a food choice, right, folks? So, there are people that are better already, but we need lots of people getting better, and we need to document. So, I am starting out by seeing cases in my office, and my mentor, Dr. Solomon, seeing cases in his office, and other acupuncturists who are qualified and trained by Dr. Solomon, hopefully as quickly as possible, seeing more, because people can indeed get better. Now, I understand that most people will not believe it. And that's the, you learn something new every day part, so let's get into it here. So, knowledge, information is for sharing. It's not for keeping secrets. And there are things that people say are secrets, they're not secrets. But people have to be told that they exist. And professionals have to be willing to read, to actually investigate beyond what they already know, assuming that they know everything. There's a ton of stuff I don't know, and right now, I don't know things that I don't know that I don't know. And a year from now, I'm going to know something that I wish I knew a year earlier, and I'll be kicking myself saying, I wish I knew then what I know now. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm conducting a clinical trial in my office, and I really appreciate all the folks that have come from many states away and driven hours and hours for the chance at getting help. The response has been far greater than I ever anticipated. And my patient, Nancy Frickson, right over there, is responsible for a lot of it. Because there's something about Nancy that motivated people to look at my information and say, hey, you know what? I want to give that a try. I want to at least see if I have a chance, if there's realistic hope for help. And so she has been instrumental, ongoing, for me helping a lot of folks. So Dr. Solomon, Solomon's auricular allergy treatment, SAAT. You can see, we'll flip with the U.S. patent application. Dr. Solomon published the study 2014, a while ago. 40 cases of many types of allergies with his treatment, gone within 3 weeks and not returned. And he presented these findings to a medical symposium. But what puzzles me is how doctors can go to a medical symposium and see something extraordinary that they could learn if they wanted to, and yet so few have. In my opinion, every acupuncturist, physician acupuncturist, licensed acupuncturist, whatever the credentials are in the world, should already know how to do this. And there are some here that are already planning and are signed up to attend to go to his next training. And thank goodness for them, because Dr. Solomon and I can't take care of everybody ourselves. All right, so really important things. Okay? I'm heading research to document and prove the merits of SAAT, resolving alpha-gal allergy. I've made no claims or promises to anybody in print or verbally. And every person that's come to me has been an unsolicited and willing participant to request my services with the hope for a chance of getting help. It's not a replacement for conventional medical diagnosis. We need all facets of medicine. We need all the different minds, all the disciplines working together towards helping folks. It's not competition. But it's really important to understand that this is not a disease-based treatment approach. It's based on wellness. And that may sound like words, but it's so much more. And it is not a temporary suppression of symptoms. It is a corrective treatment. The good news is it's not in conflict with any other medical treatment. So there are things that we have to overcome just to even get into the neighborhood of understanding. I call those the mental hoops to jump through. Overcoming the assumption that alpha-gal allergy is permanent. There are lots of folks already that know that that's not true. Our bodies possess the ability to heal from virtually anything. And there have been discoveries made throughout human history where problems have been figured out that we thought couldn't be solved. This is one of them. Okay. Very important, it's not dependent on confirmation through blood tests. We like them, we're interested in them, we're interested in researching and seeing the effects of SAAT on the blood work, but it's not our measuring tool. Now there are people out there that, through various forums on the internet and otherwise, that have been critical of a lot of good folks that are trying to help. What terrible people we are for trying to help people with a serious problem. But there are also automatic biases towards drugless methods. And I've had a career of 27 years where I will say it's not so easy being me from the standpoint of when you know you can help people with things, wonderful, safe procedures that no one believes. And we want to take the believing part out of it by having proof, as much proof as possible. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's willing to do things radically different. People will cling to their philosophies and their beliefs regardless of results of what's going on around. People think that they're special for being skeptical about things that they don't have a clue about, but they'll give an opinion, and they'll have all kinds of reasons not to do things. Or maybe they'll just dabble with something and not do it correctly or completely or follow advice, and then they'll just say, well, it doesn't work. Our beliefs can move us forward or hold us back. So if you believe it can't be helped, even a little bit, you're not going to move forward. And I've seen it. I've seen people not try and wilt away, but the vast majority who have tried to blossom back like a flower that overheated warm. And we want as many blossoms as we can get. It's really sad that we have to address this, that this is what's going on. There are people that are angry out there, and all the folks, myself included, who are trying to help this problem. What is their beef? What is their problem? You have to start somewhere. You start with ideas, and then you take actions, and then you test things, and you follow scientific procedures, rather than just baselessly criticizing things that are not understood. Is skepticism a virtue? People are using the term like it is. Well, I'm going to break that down. Didn't know you were going to get an English lesson today. Skepticism is an attitude of doubt or disbelief. But baseless rejection or doubt is merely ignorance, veiled in skepticism. It is not virtuous nor is it praiseworthy. Skepticism is a poor substitute for fact-seeking. Scientific thinking is a willingness to question and look at evidence. And that's what we're trying to come up with, is as much evidence as possible. And people getting better at documenting it and them having their health restored is evidence. Do we want it to go to the highest level possible through university-based double-blind studies? Absolutely. This is the starting point, is treating people who want at least realistic hope. That's praiseworthy. Investigating new ideas and methods. Cynicism. I've heard that term bandied about quite a bit, and quite frankly, I'm tired of it. Because if a person says, well, I'm cynical, I'm a healthy cynic, that is highly offensive. Because as you see, a cynic is someone who is suggesting that your motives are impure. It is hateful distrust. And I won't tolerate that. I don't think anybody should tolerate it. Ignorance or unfamiliarity or inexperience regarding existing medical science or technology doesn't make it untrue. So there's a lot of science that people, professionals, lay public, have never read. They don't know it exists. There's a lot of science, a lot of knowledge that's been around for decades that people don't know exists. It doesn't make it untrue. So when the public doesn't know that safe and effective and affordable treatment exists, suffering continues, money is wasted, and ignorance persists. And I'm here today to break that ignorance, one person at a time if I have to. It's really unfortunate that we have to even take the time to go through all of this aspect of it, but it's critical, because we're talking about an internationally accepted and recognized method that the public has no clue about. Now, as a student from kindergarten onward, I never liked history as a subject. I was always at odds with the whole expression, history repeats itself. So I thought, isn't the idea of studying history so that we folks don't keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again? And yet that's what happens. Every time anybody comes up with some kind of new scientific breakthrough or an idea or something to consider, rejection is the initial reaction. And in many cases, for years, decades, and sometimes centuries. Here's one of them. Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis. Anybody ever heard of him? All right, I think I still won. Think it's a good idea to wash your hands before delivering a baby? Well, they said he was crazy for suggesting that. Women were dying during childbirth because they were delivered with dirty, germ-laden hands. What a crazy thing to suggest. But in his time, it was perceived as such. And look at this poor guy. Went out to try to save lives. What a bad man. Committed to an insane asylum where he was beaten by the staff and died, ironically, from infection. Is that appalling? Yes. And this still is going on right now. Because every time someone comes up with an idea, it is treated harshly. Show of hands, heard of Louis Pasteur? Okay. Germ theory of disease, the idea of germs. We accept that as truth. Now, violent resistance from the medical community when he introduced it in the 1850s. Father of genetics, Gregor Mendel, because he wasn't considered a scientist. He's the person that figured out laws of genetics that are still understood and accepted today. Did he get credit for it? Was he treated nicely? Oh, no, he was not. 35 years after presenting his ideas. Now, people out there with alpha-gal allergy want to wait 35 years before the public's told it's okay to get the help that helps? I wouldn't want to wait that long. Anybody here heard Dr. Peyton Rouse? 1911 demonstrated that cancer was largely from viruses. 2 decades of quitting cancer study and research. Got the Nobel Prize 55 years later after his discovery. But as you see, 20% of human cancers have infection-related causes, and that is the accepted scientific knowledge. Now, I'm going to be talking more about Dr. Nader Solomon, who I think deserves the Nobel Prize. I want to help him earn it. Because he figured out something from the works of another genius and took it to another level. So let's get into it. So conventional medicine addresses allergies biochemically. And this is where we have to really change our thinking that there are other ways to look at the human body. Solomon's auricular allergy treatment addresses allergies bioenergetically. See what all of that means. Well, all cells and tissues generate electric currents. Undisputed scientific fact. Now, the EKG, the EEG, the EMG, MRI, these are all energy medicine devices. Well, like using that term, the public is not comfortable with energy medicine. But those things are all indeed energy medicine. Just not called that. Well, what we're talking about here is all about energy. Let's look at some of the definitions. We need to be comfortable with these ideas because the public is taught that acupuncture is some weird thing that's not proven. Just true. Detection and correction of energetic disturbances and weaknesses in the body using various medical devices and human observation. Attention to vibrational frequencies, including those of electricity, magnetism, heat, light, sound, gravity, pressure, and mechanical energy. Treatment involving various procedures that focus on these factors to support the repair of tissue. The working principle is that energy is the medicine. All of those medical technologies are energy medicine. A lot of things are diagnostic in nature. There are some things that are treatment in nature as well. Electrical therapy, ultrasound, those are energy medicine treatments. Anybody ever heard of Dr. Harold Saxton Burr? Professor Emeritus of Anatomy at Yale Medical School published 93 scientific papers on nervous system bioenergetic phenomena over a 40-year period. Discoverer of the hormone estrogen. The electrodynamic fields which control the human organism are signposts to the most promising trail that future explorers can follow. And that's the trail that we want to lead down. By the way, none of his work is mentioned in biology textbooks anywhere. You can actually find his papers online and read them. They're really complicated, but they're worth looking at. His books as well. The reluctance to pursue research with bioenergetic treatments is pretty significant, even though the first sign of diminished health is vibrational or electromagnetic. Remember again, technology like the EKG, that is electromagnetic thing that is being checked. More Nobel Prize winning scientists. Every culture,